Conflict diamonds aren't a certain breed of diamond that look different or have any other characteristics that would allow us to tell them apart from the diamonds found in your local jewelry store. In fact, of the diamonds found in that jewelry store are likely conflict diamonds, also known as blood diamonds, war diamonds, converted diamonds, and hot diamonds. They are diamonds that are mined in places of conflict in the world. This mainly occurs in parts of Africa where there is an extremely rich deposit of diamonds. African rebel groups are basically enslaving African people to mine for these diamonds. The rebel groups are selling these diamonds for profit so that the wars they are fighting in can be supported. These rebel groups' wars are mainly against the established government in that area. These conflict diamonds were being sold to major diamond traders and ending up all over the world, polished and cut into jewelry like every other diamond we see today. This problem became widely known in the late 1990s and has sparked many movements working towards the end of conflict diamonds in the global market. Diamonds are the most popular gemstone in the world. They are used in many different ways and are extremely expensive. A diamond is an allotrope of carbon, meaning it is made up of just carbon but takes on different form. The form the diamond takes to is called the diamond lattice. Graphite, which is used as the lead of pencils today, is also an allotrope of carbon, making it very closely related to a diamond, although its physical properties are extremely different. Diamonds have come a long way cost-wise each year, going up a substantial amount. According to Statistica, the average price of diamonds in 2014 was $28,400 per carat, a tenfold increase from 1960. A carat is a unit of measurement used when weighing diamonds and other gemstones, and 1 carat only equals 200 milligrams. There are several reasons for the extremely high price, and most of them lie in the physical properties it contains. A diamond is the hardest known element and is resistant to chemicals. This is what creates the interest in diamond as a tool. Diamonds are used as industrial tools. Fine particles of diamonds are put into saw blades and drill bits to increase the performance. When cutting a diamond into that classic shape we see for jewelry, the only thing they can use to break it is another diamond in a process called bruting. The reason diamonds are so popular with jewelry is the luster and the way the diamond refracts light makes the gemstone very appealing. Also, it's become almost a tradition that when a couple gets engaged and married, the man must buy a diamond ring. Conflict areas are places that have extreme civil unrest and violence that is occurring without the outstanding presence of a government. Most of the conflict going on currently is located in Africa due to all the rebel groups fighting their government. With the already weak government focusing its resources on fighting the rebels, there isn't much it can do for the area it's supposed to be governing, and these countries are very unstable places. The most notable places in Africa for conflict diamonds are Angola, Sierra Leone, and the Ivory Coast. In these places, it is known that the rebel groups do gruesome things to people, scaring them and threatening them with their lives to get them to mine. They would not hesitate to kill whether it be an adult or a child. The money they get from these diamonds is what they use to buy their weapons and ammo that they use to fight the government. These wars have been estimated to have killed well over 3 million people, and are we the ones that are funding it? During the 1990s is when there was a lot of conflict going on in Africa that was primarily being funded from diamonds. After the diamonds are mined in the conflict areas, they are transported and sold to major diamond distributors mixed in with all the other diamonds. The conflict diamonds make their way all over the world, especially to major diamond trading cities like New York City and London, and other majorly populated places. It was estimated that out of the entire population of diamonds sold in the late 90s, 4% were from conflict areas. Human rights organizations became aware of the harsh punishments and terrorist-like acts that the rebel groups cast upon the African people. Certain rebel groups have been known to cut off the limbs of children, and this was astonishingly very common. They started to spread awareness of this situation all over the world through the media. Common ads would show a person wearing a diamond, on one half of a picture, and the other half would be a severely injured African. There would also often be blood dripping from diamond necklace or a ring. These ads were very successful and sparked a movement backed by many governments to find a way to end the distribution of conflict diamonds around the world. Looking at the situation of conflict diamonds, there is a lot of similarities it has with the slave trade, dating all the way back to the 16th century. In both, it all originates in Africa. That is where blackness originates itself. Both the slave trade and the situation going on with conflict diamonds took advantage of the African population by forcing them to do intensive labor under harsh conditions, all for the financial benefit of another person. Both of them involve overseas transportation and appear very similar, although in the slave trade it was the actual slaves that were being traded for money. The conflict diamond trade is still very similar. The United States also plays a huge role in both the slave trade and the diamond trade. New York City is one of the biggest trading posts for diamonds in the world, with the US being on the biggest consumers of diamond products. During the slave trade, the southern U.S. imported millions of slaves to work on farms and in plantations. These slaves were sold like property to property owners. The main point here is that lives are being taken advantage of for financial gain in both of these situations, but only one has ended. The governments come up with plans to slow and hopefully stop the spread of diamonds from conflict areas, but I think they should focus more on the problem of innocent humans being forced to work and killed. Living in a conflict-ridden area in Africa is extremely dangerous in many ways. The rebel groups don't care about the people at all, and will kill them without batting an eye. There is a huge problem with children being recruited as soldiers in these groups. If a little kid is taken and his parents are killed, he will be forced to join the rebels or they will kill him. The children are basically brainwashed because they grow up getting trained to shoot and kill. They don't understand right and wrong. Most of the troops the rebels groups have are children soldiers who are very disposable to the rebels when they are fighting. Aside from the children soldiers, if you are in these areas and rebels get to you, they will make you do work like we see with conflict diamond mines. These mines are very unsafe places. The rebels definitely aren't very generous with food and water. If you're not working hard or try to escape, you can expect to die or have an example be made of you and be tortured. Rebel groups will cut off your hands, feet, and even slice up your face to keep other workers scared and working diligently. The climate in this part of Africa is also extremely harsh to live in, especially under conditions forced on the African people involved. Just after World War II, a tank mechanic for Soviet Russia by the name of Mikhail Kalashnikov released his assault rifle prototype called the AK-46 in 1946. The AK-47 came out in 1947 after some improvements. It was accepted by the Red Army. This was a simply designed gun, very easy to use and extremely easy to break down and clean. It was a very durable weapon, and that is made up of probably the most widely used assault rifle today. During the Cold War, when Soviet Russia and the United States were not very friendly with each other, the Russians shared their weapons with a lot of people who are enemies of the US, and this is why we believe the AK-47 is the weapon of choice for terrorist and rebel groups all the way up until today. This gun has taken millions of lives around the world, and it is said that of the estimated 500 million firearms available, 100 million are AK-47s or variations of the AK-47. The wooden stock and foregrip of the weapon give it its look everybody knows. Also, the 30-round banana-like magazine is also a telltale sign of the AK-47. Some personal experience is also very to shoot with recoil that is very easy to handle. With its simplicity and durability, it is a reliable weapon, but is often in the wrong hands. When most people think of this weapon in the United States, it's the weapon of the enemy. In Africa, the rebel groups supply their armies with AK-47s more than any other firearm. And the fact that the weapon plus ammunition is very cheap is all the more reason for the rebels to get it. It has also proven to be extremely reliable in almost every situation and environment, no matter how harsh. The weapon isn't only for the bad guys, though. It has helped countries fight for their freedom and even appears on the flag of the African country Mozambique. Governments around the world have taken a great amount of action with the ending of blood diamonds, and it's working out very well. A very low percentage of conflict diamonds make it through to global markets today, but are diamonds the only problem? No, there are precious metals that rebel groups are forcing people to mine in order to pay for their civil wars. They are known as the 3 T's and gold. Gold is the obvious one, but the 3 T's stand for tin, tantalum, and tungsten. These metals are used in a lot of electronics and other materials that we use every day. Stopping the problem with conflict minerals is proving very tough. Diamonds are a start, but we aren't even rounding first yet. All of these materials are found in our cell phones, and then they also make up items from car parts to clothing restraints. The only way we think we can possibly stop the selling of conflict minerals is through a process called laser spectroscopy. This process allows you to tell the geochemical composition of a geomaterial. Doing this allows you to see the geographical source of the geomaterial, almost like a fingerprint on the mineral. Testing being done in this field has led a 90% success rate, but it could cost a lot of money to swing this idea into action, as well as a lot of participation in the metal ore trading industry. After the conflict diamond problem became well known in the late 90s, governments started to take action. A meeting was held in Kimberley, South Africa to discuss a plan to stop the trade of conflict diamonds. In 2002, a resolution to the problem was adopted by the United Nations, which called for a certification system of rough diamonds, the Kimberley process. It's almost like a group of governments that agree to follow all the regulations set by the Kimberley process. It is an inner circle for diamond trading. They can only trade with others who are part of the process to assure no conflict diamonds enter the trade. The Kimberley process now has 50 members who collectively make up over 99% of the worldwide diamond trade. This process requires every import and export of diamonds to be accompanied by a certificate to assure that the diamonds aren't from conflict areas. There is no real way to tell where a diamond comes from, and the system could be cheated. The UN is adding regulations to assure this does not happen. The process seems to have worked very well according to estimated the percentage of conflict diamonds making it through is less than 1%, as opposed to an estimated 15% in the 1990s. A lot of people really question whether it works at all, since most of it is just trust. Nobody breaks the rules, but these debates continue to occur today, more than 10 years later. There has been a lot of research going into the curse of natural resources, where if you have an abundance of natural resources in your country, you will show negative economic growth. There are obviously exceptions to this, but I found that it does seem to be true, especially for less wealthy countries and even the countries that are involved in the conflict diamond problem. Countries that are ridden with civil war and have rebel groups taking advantage of their natural resources for money, the government won't be able to get much profit out of them while trying to fight rebel forces all the time. It was found that states that had a dependence on a natural resource have a higher chance of civil war. There is a greater chance that people don't like the way their government is using profits, and it is likely they will fight back. There is a term called petroaggression, where states that are rich in oil will have a greater chance of instigating international conflict or being the target of one. Based on the graph, you can definitely see the correlation between an abundance of natural resources and a negative economic growth.